Hey, hey, Gems. Welcome back to my channel. Well, welcome back to this live stream. It's going to be so jam-packed with gems. You know how we do it on this channel. And I'm so excited because I have a special guest with me today. I can't stop my cheeks from exploding. She's an amazing woman, and I will let her introduce herself very soon. However, before she does that, I just want to toot her horn a little bit. I love that she is in this space. I love that she's able to have uncomfortable conversations like I do on this channel. And I think, as much as a lot of people want to silence her and the message that she has, I think it needs to be amplified. That is why we are joining forces and we are taking over the world. Okay. So I will bring her on right now and then we can have a chat.
Hi, thank you so much for what a wonderful introduction.
You got it. I'm going to open the floor for you to, just tell us what you do, because maybe some people might not know who you are. And obviously, excuse my voice. I am recovering from a cold, so.
No worries at all. So my name is Alexi. I have a TikTok called The Empress Collective, and I started off my channel talking about femininity, and it kind of transitioned into archetypes, relationship dynamics, and I did some pro male content as well, which got me a lot of heat on the internet. And I have a feminine finishing school, so I help women to become more feminine, to heal their trauma, their family karma, to help them understand the kind of woman they are, the kind of man they need, because we all have different energies within us. Some women are more masculine, some women are more feminine, and you kind of, you need your polarity and the different dynamics between that. And I think people really resonated a lot with the archetypes because, we're kind of taught that everything is like really black and white, and it's not. There's a lot of different ways to go about relationships and relationship dynamics.
Absolutely. And that is one of the reasons I love your channel, not your channel, your content, because it's so broad and it touches on so many aspects, especially our upbringing. And that's something I'm very big on, because I think we need to get to the root in order to solve anything that's happening on the surface, isn't it?
For sure. Yeah, we have ancestral karma, right? And if you look at your parents, your grandparents, great grandparents, there's a lot of times there's like something that kind of becomes a pattern in your family dynamic. And then you also unconsciously have this pattern a lot of the times. And you may play out the same exact relationships. Like my mother, her relationship with my father and everything that transpired there was the exact same situation that her parents had. So, she repeated this kind of pattern. And I started practicing Buddhism when I was about 19 years old. I started chanting and joined an organization called Soka Gakkai, which means Value Creation Society. And, I worked really hard in my spiritual evolution to overcome my family karma, because I did not want to repeat the same patterns. I wanted to be able to build a family of lifelong happiness. I wanted to be able to have the tools and the, to be able to sustain a relationship. It's easy to attract in men. It's easy to go on a date with a guy. It's easy to kind of, go through the honeymoon phase. But, me and my partner were talking about this the other day. To sustain something takes skill, effort, and understanding. So that's what the goal is. Yeah.
I love that. Before we go into our topic for today, I'm going to post your video, the one that I really loved, the one that we're going to obviously segue from and further dissect in this live stream. So I'm just going to pop it on the screen. Let's see. It might cover our faces, but let's see.
I started my TikTok, I had 80% female followers. My goal was for women to understand femininity, to tap into their femininity, and also to understand men, because a lot of women are misinformed about how men operate. And the more I started doing content to understand men, my statistics went from 80% females to 38% females. I have more male followers and supporters than I do women, which I find it to be kind of interesting. Wouldn't the women want to understand men and support a page that understands them to better their relationships? And I get a lot of heat from women in my comment section for things that I say. I get a lot of backlash. I get a lot of argumentative women in my comment section. I get women who tag big creators telling them to come after me and to come for me. It's kind of crazy. And one thing I'll see a lot that women coaches will say is that men are intimidated by strong women and they'll dump a strong woman for a weak one. It's not that men are intimidated by women. They're not intimidated by women. The reason why this happens a lot of the times is because these strong women are very argumentative women. At the end of the day, when a man goes to work and he's working really hard, he wants to come home to peace in his home, to respect in his home, to joy. He wants to come home to a happy woman. He doesn't want to come home to a combative, argumentative woman who's complaining, criticizing, dominating, nagging at him, rejecting him. A lot of times women that are seen as weaker, which a lot of times they're not, they just aren't openly dominant, they're not openly vocal about things, they're more submissive, if you will, to the public. Those women are more loving. They don't nag and complain and criticize. A lot of times they're happier women. They're easier to be around. They're easier to love. One of the complaints I hear from a lot of male clients is they're tired of getting yelled at for everything by a woman. And I see it a lot with women. They'll come on my comment section. They'll want to debate me, argue with me, pick apart what I say, criticize me, tell me that I'm wrong. They don't want to listen to what I have to say. They don't want to broaden their horizons or open their mind. And if you're a difficult woman, a man will lose interest in you. A lot of women believe that men like a challenge, and yes, they do to a degree, but they do not like challenging women or women that try to challenge them. Have enough challenge at work, they want a relationship to fill the void of that love that they're seeking and craving.
Sorry. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, that video is so loaded.
You know, that video got taken down for bullying. Somebody reported me for bullying and harassment for that video, and it got taken down, and I had to appeal it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I haven't watched that video in a while. I feel so awkward sometimes watching myself. You know, I'll post something and I'll never go back to it again. And originally when you popped it up there, it was on mute, and I unmuted it to listen to it. And I'm just like, I wonder why. I mean, I guess, you know, people get triggered, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Look, I mean, well, we're about to dissect the video. So we're going to know why they were triggered, because unless you've healed or you're a bit self-aware in some degree, you will be triggered, because all I can hear women say is, well, why do we exist just for men, or this, that, and other? So our very first thing topic I would say, that I want us to dissect or delve a little bit deeper into is, how are women so misinformed about the way men operate? What would you say will be the number one reason as to why they're so misinformed? Or are they even misinformed?
I think women in our generation, we're not really taught how to understand men. You know, I don't think we really grow up and are raised to understand how men operate in the dating world, and you know, we just got to kind of figure it out ourselves.
Right.
Right. And then there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of dated information. There's a lot of good and bad information. And also, you know, when I post videos on, you know, ways to keep a man interested, or ways that, you know, reasons why men will, you know, propose to one woman and not the other, or give relationship advice. I did a video for men on what to look for in women. Women will always appear in the comment section and they'll say, well, it goes both ways, or what about us? You know, they never want to actually like hear what the guy needs. And it's always, well, what about us and our needs? And they feel like, I think a lot of women feel like men are also not raised to understand women. And maybe there's also truth to that. I think, you know, a lot of us, you know, especially, I guess, starting in the 70s, 80s, 90s and beyond, you know, divorce became much more popular. People were raised in broken homes and dysfunctional families. And when you grow up that way, you don't have the skill set to build positive, healthy relationships. So I think that there's a lot going on there.
So essentially, they haven't been taught how to be wives. Okay, for today's video, we're sticking to the women. We're coming for you, women. But yeah, men also haven't been taught how to be husbands. But for today, we're sticking to the women. So in a nutshell, they haven't been taught how to be wives, or relationship skills, or how to learn more about how men operate, right? But they also lack self-awareness, and they do not want to listen. So how do we get them to attain the things that they say they want? Because most of these women do say they want marriage, you know, most of them do want families. At the same time, they do not know how men operate. They don't want to listen, indirectly or directly. They don't want to listen. How do we get them the things that they say they want?
I think there's a couple of things going on. I think there's a lot of fear programming. You know, I saw a video the other day of this woman saying that men are allergic to love. Once they know that you love them, they'll lose interest and leave. And I think a lot of women, and I believe in like thought pendulums. I believe that, you know, we have a belief system that, you know, maybe our grandparents had, and they passed down to our mom, and then passed down to us. And it's not a universal truth. It's just something that you've, you know, your belief creates your reality. So if you believe that and you tell other people that, it's going to become truth for you, or you see it happen. So I think a lot of women are afraid, first of all, to become a loving wife to their husband, because they're afraid, if I'm not independent, if I need him, he'll leave me. And when I was in my early 20s, I read this book called Why Men Love Bitches. And I actually did a video on my take on the book, that I kind of like some of it, but not a lot of it. And the author came for me. She actually insulted me in the comment section about my synopsis of her book, which, you know, it is what it is. But I read it in my early 20s, and her whole book, I mean, I haven't read it up to date, but from what I remember, it was a lot of like, be independent. If you need him, he won't like you anymore. You know, just a lot of this kind of rhetoric. So I was dating a guy, and I had another video that went viral about this story, but I made the video private. But I basically was dating this guy that I thought that's how I had to act. I had to be Miss Independent. I don't need you. And that's how I behaved with him. And he ended up dumping me for a kindergarten teacher. You know, I was like this successful fashionista woman, you know, and I thought he wanted Miss, you know, big and great, you know, and he dumped me for this, you know, more, I guess, submissive type of woman. They're still married to this day. I was just curious, and I looked it up one day, and I was like, oh, they have 2 kids, you know, and I'm sure he's happily married with her. And she, I think maybe was a stay-at-home mom. I don't really know. But my point is that I thought that, you know, I was portraying what he wanted. And he actually ended up telling me that he thought I didn't really like him very much, you know. And I think that she was, you know, and then since women choose men, a lot of women are hypergamous, right? Since we kind of look at a man who can provide, protect, you know, be a great role model for our children, we think that men look for the same thing. We think if we have all this money and all this success, men are going to love us, but they don't look for those qualities in a woman. That's not what makes them fall in love. And I did another video on that, and I got, oh my God, so much backlash. I ended up taking it down because it was just, I just don't like the drama. So yeah, I think, I don't know if I answered your question, but I think there's a lot of different programming, and I think a lot of it comes from fear of being abandoned and fear of being left. And I think that that's a real fear because when you have a child, you're so vulnerable. You don't want your husband to up and leave you for another woman. If you're not working and you're at home taking care of the kids, you don't want to feel vulnerable that he'll become uninterested in you. So it becomes this weird kind of dynamic. Yeah.
I think most of it, like I was thinking about that today because I did watch your live with Avery because I had her on last Sunday.
Awesome.
Yeah. I was just thinking to myself, I think most of these women, or when we find ourselves in these situations where we're so focused on ourselves, protecting ourselves, not necessarily showing any vulnerability, I think most of it stems from when we were growing up. No one really showed up for us, maybe our caregivers, our parents. No one was really there to say, hey, you can actually be all of you and it's going to be okay. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then they can guide us through those emotions. No one was there for us, right? So they've grown up thinking, well, even when I am vulnerable, even when I am this, no one really cares. So let me just do whatever. And unfortunately, the loudest message is be strong and independent because that's what men want. And I think there's a lot of projection. People are projecting so much. Imagine this lady has a whole book, you know, and you at 20 was reading and thinking, what's going on here? You know, it's really having an impression on us. And we're just in this endless cycle, repeating other people's unhealed traumas, you know, and then not addressing our own because we don't even know we have issues of our own, you know. So it's very telling. All the same, I think we have agency over ourselves. We have that responsibility and accountability to ourselves to go for the things that we say we want, just the way we go for our careers, our education. We need to say, do you know what? Something's not working. You know, I think we need to have that strength and that courage, to just say, I want different for myself. How about that? What do you think about that? Oh, actually, before you speak, hi, Reggie. He said, men to some extent were raised to respect women, raised to be the men that the fathers weren't. Okay, to be men, they were raised to be emotional, not to be vocal, to understand women, not to be understood. Right, so it was very one-sided, isn't it? And women would love that, especially if they're raised by single mothers. You know, it will become this one-sided thing, wouldn't it? What do you think?
I see actually one of the most popular comments in one of my videos that has like 25,000 likes is a man who said, never open up emotionally to a woman because she'll use it against you later. And there's a lot of videos going around where men will say, well, once I was emotional or sensitive, or I opened up, or I was suffering, and I told my girlfriend, told my wife, she lost respect for me. So I think, you know, some women will blame it on the patriarchy. They're like, oh, well, they're like that because other men bully them. But actually, I've heard the opposite, that men become the support group for these men, and they're afraid, you know, to open up to women. And so I think that like what he's saying here is men are raised to understand women, but not to be understood. You know, I remember like buying my dad something once, or asking him what he wanted for his birthday. And he was like, I'm the dad. I'm supposed to buy you presents, you know? And he has such a hard time like receiving. And his whole life has been dedicated to taking care of me and my sisters, taking care of my mom, and taking care of my grandmother. And I can see a little bit how he may feel. He would never admit to it because my dad is not openly expressive and emotional, even though he is sensitive inside. I think in some ways, you know, he, you know, wishes and so you see that men are kind of also tired of being the main provider, feeling used as an ATM, or feeling like women only like them for their bank accounts, and not for who they truly are.
Right. No,
So
I totally agree with that. I was actually speaking to someone the other day, a friend of mine, and she was like, men have changed. You know, they're not coming for us anymore. They're not courting us anymore. You know, they're not chasing us anymore. And I was like, it's because of us. You know, we said we want to do the chasing. We
it's
said we
true.
want to do the pursuing. We said we can do X, Y, and Z. So that means they have said, okay, then, okay, do it. That doesn't mean they're no longer traditional, but it does mean if you are a traditional woman, you will have to work a little bit harder to prove or to set yourself apart that you actually want them and you need them, right?
Not only that, I have a guy friend of mine who he's a very handsome, very successful man in New York City. And he's like, I'm afraid to approach women at the bars. Like, you just don't know how they're going to react. And a lot of men are now, you know, and it's not that they're intimidated. A lot of women think that, oh, they're intimidated by my
Yeah, we're
success.
going to come to that.
It's because they just don't know how she's going to behave. And men are so afraid of rejection. You know, men have a sensitive soul and they have a strong body. Their skin is actually 30% stronger than ours. We have a soft body and a strong soul. That's why we're the, you know, the conduit and the portal of giving birth, giving life, right? We're stronger spiritually. And you know, even in like Judaism and Orthodox Judaism, women are seen as like inherently like evolved and enlightened. Men have to stay home and study the Torah to kind of come to us, right? So men are more sensitive, and men or women will laugh and say, oh, men and their fragile egos. And well, they do. A lot of them do have fragile egos. And why are we laughing about that? Why shouldn't you kind of like, you know, they're so deeply afraid of rejection. So imagine, you know, men being told, well, women want to be equals. We don't want to be provided for. We don't want to be taken care of. And then you try to approach a woman or take her on a date and men are like, do I pay? Is she going to get offended? Like, because they've had these experiences, right?
Yeah. And I think the women, or the modern women, they like it to a certain degree. I think they pick and choose where they want those double standards to apply, don't they? Oh, it suits me now, so yeah. But next minute, I want you to pull out my chair. I want you to open the door for me. I want you to do this. But at the same time, you're a boss babe. It doesn't make sense. Women are confused for the most part. Some women.
I think a lot of women have decided they want to become men. I think they truly, you know, they start talking like them, behaving like them, wanting money like them. They literally, and a lot of women who don't have fathers growing up do this because they've never had a man provide. So they think, well, I have to be the man then. And I have a lot of clients like this who grew up without a father, or like their father was kind of like in and out, and they became the queen archetype. And, you know, the thought of a man providing for them or like, you know, spoiling them, they're like, oh, I don't want that. I want to be the man. I want to have the money, you know, and they'll even say it too. Like, you know, so I think that's, somebody wrote a quote. I can't remember what they said, but it was something like, women want the privileges of being a woman, the money of a man, and the like accountability of a child or something like that. Yeah.
That is exactly what it is to the T. But you can't have it all.
I think, and women will debate me on this too, I'm sure, but we have this idea that we can have it all, and I'm not saying you can't pursue different things, right? I devoted my 20s to bettering myself, bettering my life, growing, evolving to my mission. I want to, you know, obviously, like, me and my partner want to get married soon and have a big family. And, you know, if a woman, like, let's say she has it all, right? She wakes up, she gets the kids ready for school. Then she goes to work all day. Then she comes home and helps them with homework. And then she cooks the meal. And then she has to have enough energy left over to love her husband. So I think a woman can really fully give energy to two things, but not three. You can give your energy to your children and your husband, but not to work, your career and your kids. And then your husband, you know, kind of, you know what I mean, ends up right? Like that. So I think it's hard for them to kind of do all three. And then women will say, well, men have always been able to do all three. Well, that's not true. Men have provided, they had their role. Women were the caretakers, the builder of the home on the inside, and took care of the children, and both had these dual responsibilities. And then I had a question last night where somebody was like, well, why are you putting people in boxes of what they should do and what kind of archetypes they are and that kind of thing? And it's like, well, if you work for a company, right, you're not going to just come in and say like it's a free-for-all, just decide what you want to do. You have an accountant, you have marketing, you have like all these sales, you have different departments of skills. And you know, right now the departments of skills between men and women or relationships are so blurred that nobody has a clue of what they're supposed to do. And the other irony thing, and then I want to bring it over to you, is, you know, if you tell a woman like, oh, I love cooking and cleaning for my husband or whatever, if I like cooking for my husband, women will say, oh, so you're a maid? Well, and it's like, well, we have to eat. So either you're going to cook, my husband's going to cook, or we're going to get takeout every day. Right. So what is it? And
why are we being shamed?
But like, why is it seen as such a, you know, beneath me, right? Women see as, oh, it's so beneath me to have that kind of position. But, you know, I mean, I have a male client of mine who he loves his wife. He signed up for my coaching program to better his relationship. They've been together for 20 years. And he's like, I love my wife. I come home to a home cooked meal every day. The house smells amazing. She invites all my friends over. She's so hospitable. She's, you know, beautiful. She's warm. She's loving. He wasn't like, she's a boss babe and she knows how to make money with me, you know, like,
you know, it's like your colleague. You don't want to go to work all day and then come home to a boss babe who refuses to be a wife. That's like bringing work home. You want peace. You want to dim the lights, you know? You want voice. You don't want, yo, how it works. Let me see your balance sheet. No.
I was at somebody's house and I was listening to the husband and wife talk, and the husband was like kind of on the computer. He was still working. It was like 6:37. And his wife has a really demanding, stressful job. And she was just sitting there like moaning and groaning about all the drama at her company and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I was just sitting there thinking like, he doesn't want to hear this at the end of his day. You know what I mean? And like, I think he was like patiently trying to listen to her. And I'm not saying like you can't gossip to your friends, call your friends and bitch to them, right? Women, we're communicators. We like to like vibe with people, right? Yeah. Don't do it to your husband. And one thing I really learned, which is, I mean, I think this is not a, you know, what am I saying? Like a revolutionary concept. But when I studied with a sexologist, she said, men will leave women they have to fight. And it's so true. Once you, and I noticed it with certain clients of mine that they were always complaining to their boyfriends or causing problems with their boyfriends. And eventually the men just get so tired of it. And then they lose the sexual drive towards her. And then they start to resent her because it's like, God, every time I'm around her, it's just men fall in love with how they feel in your presence. Yeah.
Oh my, I love that. And that was only part one.
Yeah.
So let's just segue into why do women feel, because it is a feeling, they always feel like they need to either silence the person, the messenger, or any kind of truth that triggers them.
Why do you think that?
Sorry?
Why do you think?
Yeah, well, the reason why I think they may try to silence people or messengers or the truth is mainly, it goes back to their upbringing, I would say. When basically they haven't learned how to be uncomfortable, or they haven't learned that being uncomfortable or being upset or being triggered, they're all part of the human experience. Okay, and they haven't had someone who can guide them through those moments. So maybe because they haven't had that guidance, the minute something triggers them, although they don't know where that triggers, like where the pain is at, they're like, well, I just got to lash out anyway because I've got to, I have to protect myself. And I think a lot of women are they're not a safe space for themselves. Like they're always in like survival mode. Although on the outside they might look like these boss babes, these women who have it all together, but really and truly they're literally walking on eggshells and on thin ice, because their emotions are just haphazard. They don't know how to self-regulate. They don't know how to self-soothe, because they just haven't learned how to do it. And the thing is, the irony, I would say, or the paradox is, in order to get over or process those things, you have to sit in the uncomfortable feeling. You know, that's the thing. You can't get someone else to do the work for you. The only way to process that uncomfortableness or the trigger is to actually sit with it and dissect it and get all the way to the core of that trigger in order to no longer become triggered. Okay, but that is where we're having the issue, because they're shooting themselves in the foot right from the get-go because they're triggered, not knowing that triggers are good. I teach that triggers are good, because you know, you're walking on your merry old way and everyone sees that everything is fine with you. All of a sudden your shoulder hurts. You don't know it's your shoulder, but someone said something, and all of a sudden you're feeling the pain in your shoulder. At least now you know it was your shoulder that was hurting all along. So when you go to the hospital, you can just say, hey, it's my shoulder, and then they can sort it out. That's why I advocate for therapy. When you go there, the therapist or a consultant or, you know, because you do a bit of coaching as well, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Coaching. Like a coach can say, hey, actually, everything that you've said is actually your shoulder that hurts. It's not your leg. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, can you get me something for my shoulder then? You know, and then we can work through that, rather than saying, oh no, I'm good with the bad shoulder.
Yeah.
He needs to accept me with a bad shoulder. No, he does not need to accept you for nothing. So yeah, I think that's what's happening over here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, I think that we're programmed between 0 to 7 years old, and our subconscious mind is like really filtering all the information that's being given, and we're like a sponge. We soak up the, you know, the environment around us. And I think also the difference between like men and women or young women is, if a young woman is crying or something, you know, we'll console her. What's wrong? Like, let me make it better for you, right? But if a young boy is crying, it's like, suck it up, be strong. You know, you're fine, get up, you know. So women are kind of taught, a lot of women, not all women obviously, but like if you cry, which is kind of true, like if you cry to a ruler archetype, you know, he will be soft and he will come to your aid, right? So it's actually, crying is a protective mechanism that you can use to soften people. And I think women kind of, I think we've been more spoiled. I think people would maybe disagree with that, but I think we have been, right? So we kind of feel like we want things to kind of be the way we want them to be. And we don't want to feel uncomfortable if somebody's telling us something that we don't want to hear. And I think men are like this too, though. I think men get triggered by my content as well. So I think it's just kind of a human nature thing of, like, as you mentioned, like it's a protective mechanism. Like, see, for me, cheating is like a sore spot. Like that's a trauma that like, you know, it's kind of been in my family lineage karma. So it's something that's really a sensitive thing for me. When I hear a red pill content creator or whatever, these guys, you know, the Fret and Fit, or what are they called? Fresh and Fit.
Yeah, Fresh and Fit.
They go on and say, like, oh, all high value men are entitled to multiple women because they have money. Like, I get triggered. I'm like, that's BS, you know? But I just choose to kind of like, that's his belief. He was probably raised in a dysfunctional home, and he didn't have like great role models to think that that's the way to do life. And that's his own thing, and it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, so you have to process that trigger, isn't it? In order to just be objective of what he said. That doesn't mean it's going to change your mind, but at least you can accept it for what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, that's his life, that's his story. You know, I go over in my workshops, when we go over family karma, you know, we do this exercise where it's like, you know, if you go to your mom or your dad or your sister, or your grandparent, your story is your story, my story is my story. I don't have to take on your beliefs. I don't have to believe, you know, I have a woman in my family who believes that, you know, you should always love a man more than he loves you. That's the only way it will work. But I've seen, you know, I've seen relationships that are great where it's not that dynamic, right? But that became her belief. You know, I don't have to believe that. If that's what she chooses to believe, that's her free will. I'm not going to sit here and fight her to change her mind. And some woman tried to debate me yesterday. And I was just like, this isn't worth my energy, because no matter what I say, like, you're so beholden to your belief. It's not worth my time, my precious time. I'm not even getting paid to try to force you to believe what I believe. And then she started attacking me for, you know, and slandering me for, you know, typical response from a woman like you or something, you know? So I think people just we're stubborn. It's hard to change. It's really hard to change ourselves. It's, you know, much harder to change others, right? So,
and that's the only thing we can do, isn't it? Is ourselves. But I think because we've grown up so much, we've grown up not knowing how to fully be there for ourselves, and we've always wanted other people to change in order to make us feel a little bit safer. We're still these big children, so to speak. And it's like we're looking for our husbands or our partners to be our parents. You know, the things that we were lacking when we were growing up. It's like we want to dump them all on our husband to be that father figure, or to fill that void that we're having. And I think that's a lot to put on one person, you know, especially when it's flipped. You don't even want to cook a meal, you know, or just be peaceful.
Yeah.
This is my problem. You can have this unicorn of a man who is going to do all these things for you. However, what are you going to do for him? And how are you going to maintain that which you have attained? And
it's true. I feel like my partner is a unicorn of a man. And for the first time in my life, I'm like, God, like, I'm the problem. I have to like work on my triggers and my stuff, because I don't want to sabotage this relationship, you know, because I still, you know, just because I'm a coach doesn't mean I don't struggle too, right? I have trust issues, and he does everything he can to help me through that. But he can't make me trust him. That's an issue I have in myself that I have to work on. And if I don't work on it, and if I don't show up properly with him, I'm going to sabotage my relationship. So I have to be really responsible for my behavior. You know, and I see this too a lot, where women will come to me and they're like, me and my boyfriend or whatever broke up, it's all his fault. And then we dig in, and actually she was a lot at fault too. And you hear this a lot, where women will say, oh, my dad just up and left my mom for no reason. And there's always a reason why things fall apart, right? I mean, I'm sure there are certain instances where the woman did everything she could and the man just didn't stick around. But yeah, you know, you have to sustain your relationship.
It resonates with me what you just said. I remember, like, because I'm divorced, and I know, like, when I was married, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. I was taught how to be a wife, so I literally went all guns blazing in my duties, in my responsibilities. But what I wasn't taught was what the man needs to bring to the table. Okay, so and if you slap in Christianity in there, being a pastor's daughter, and then you throw in some people pleasing and codependency, I was like, oh no, you don't have to do anything. I'll be the man and the woman, and I'll do it. I'll do everything. Okay, I'll bring home the bacon, and I'll cook, and I'll clean, and I'll look after the children, and I'll do it with a smile on my face. And I still did not know why he just wouldn't want to stay. It's as if I was suffocating him with love. Just stop it, woman. You know,
well, men need to feel useful. They want to feel like they've earned it, or that they're contributing in some way. And you know, they don't, like, if you give a man so much, and that's why I think men kind of, if you sleep with a man really early on, there's multiple reasons why he may not be interested. But I think one is that he feels like, why did she give that gem to me? I didn't really do that much to deserve it. I took her out to dinner, you know, and if she's giving it so freely to me, she's probably doing it to other people. And that, you know, she probably just doesn't value herself because she's, you know, and then that it becomes like that.
Yeah. all of that, because literally, even when I left things for, hey, I'm submitting here. This is your time to take the lead. It was like, no, don't want to do it. And then
because they become dependent on you. Yeah. If you become so strong, you're so capable, you can do it all. Then they're like, I'm just going to sit back and let her do it. Right. Or they may try to show up and help. And then the woman, this is pretty common. The woman will say, well, you didn't do it right. You didn't do it my way. Like, you didn't put the dishes away properly. Oh, yeah, this is how it has to be. And then they're like, well, if every time I do something to help, you attack me, I'm not going to do anything, and then it becomes this. There was a woman that went viral on TikTok because she had said that she had a video. She actually posted a video making fun of her husband trying to figure out how to do laundry. And she was like filming him reading a whiteboard of like instructions. And she was complaining that like, weaponized incompetence, like he didn't really even get it right until the therapist even helped out. But then it came out that she didn't work. She didn't have a job, didn't have kids, nothing. She was full-time at home, and he fully supported and provided for her. So I was like, why should he come home and also do laundry? Like, it has to be teamwork. And she was like, well, 5 years ago, I helped pay him to go through school. Or like, it's like she had this thing that like she was hanging it over his head, and I mean, this is common among both genders, right? I've dated a guy before that he would go and buy me luxury items and then later on be like, well, I bought you this. And I'm like, but I didn't ask for it, Don't hold it against me. And then I didn't want to take gifts from him anymore, or even go on vacations with him, because I knew that I would like, it would come at me or after me like later on, but my mother, unfortunately, was kind of this way. I remember she gave away my beloved doll, my Felicity doll from American Girl that they don't make anymore. And I was like, how could you give away my doll? And I wanted to pass that down to my children. And she was like, well, I paid for it. I'm like, are you serious? Like, it was for me. I was like 6 years old. So I kind of ended up, you attract in people like your parents until you heal that.
This is so true.
Thing. Yeah.
It's like you're constantly chasing for someone's approval. And then I was just thinking to myself, actually, do you know what? Just sit back. Just allow this person to, he did run us down into a ditch, but that is not the point. The point is allow people to be all of what they are, and also learn about what men also need to bring to the table, therefore pick better, so that you can give all these qualities to a person who can actually reciprocate that,
For
not
sure.
Someone's just hurt me, therefore all men, all the male species is going to feel my wrath, so to speak. So that actually segues into the next one, the strong and independent woman. There is this thing going around, and it's a myth. That's why it's in capital letters. That men are intimidated by strong women. We hear it all the time. Oh yes, because he's just intimidated by strong women. Oh, he's just this, that, and the other. What is that? What is that about?
If I hear a man like ditches a woman or rejects her, or doesn't ask her out, she'll always go to, he was just intimidated by me. He was intimidated by my success. He didn't think that he had enough for me. And it's not true. Men are not intimidated by a woman's success. A lot of men are turned on by a successful woman. There are different archetypes of men. There are certain archetypes of men that love that successful, independent boss babe, and he wants to like add to her life. Right. And then there are men that don't really want that. And it's not because they're not intimidated. They're just more interested in a woman taking care of their children, raising the children, being more of a traditional kind of woman, not a woman who's working out of the house 24/7, or like is more devoted. And a lot of men think too that like career women are so devoted to their career that they're not going to be devoted to their kids or their husbands. So they're like, why would I want to? I already make money. I already have enough money. Why would I want to marry somebody who puts their career first too? I don't need her money, right? Men are not taught to depend on a woman, right? So they don't care how much money you have because it's never been ingrained in them to care, right? The only men who care how much money you have are broke men who want to use you. and this is common too. You know, I have a lot of female clients that are queen archetypes that meet these, you know, types of men, the shadow of one of the archetypes, and they get used financially. It's actually more common now than I see women using men for money. Yeah.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Hey, Chantel. Hey.
Got the t-shirt.
But literally, healing is the way forward. Healing is the way forward, and women need to stop with this, what's it called? I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need no man, because it's counterproductive. It would have been fine if these strong, independent women truly did not need men and did not want men. But these are the same women who are barking the loudest because they do want men. But they just don't know how to get them because they're in their own way. They need to get out of their own way, and they need to learn to compromise, as Reggie mentioned. Some women just don't know how to compromise. They think it's settling. But the truth of the matter is, if the man is settling for you, because most of the time it is hypergamy and all of this, they settle for us. You know, well, we settle for each other.
Well, I wouldn't say they settle necessarily. I just think that men look for different things.
Yeah.
You know, I think, I think they just look for different things.
But
I think
value in different things, isn't it?
They value different things. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
So it's just understanding that men value different things. And unfortunately, the things that we have placed so much value in are not valuable to the men that we say we want. Therefore, we need to go back to the drawing board and place more value and work into the things that they say they want so that we can be those things. That's the equation, isn't it?
I have a couple of examples here. One is one of my coaching clients who's a man who's been married for like 20 years. His wife, he's the one that was, you know, raving about how she's this amazing cook and all these things. Right. And he was so distraught over his relationship because she would constantly say things to him like, well, I can leave you at any minute. I can be independent too. I can go out. She had never really worked. She depended on him, but would always kind of, and he's like, it's so hurtful that she says this. I'm always on edge that she's just going to leave me one day. And I don't know why she does this to me. So anyway, she got onto my content, started watching my content, came on one of my live streams and was like, you saved my marriage. He signed up for my 3-month coaching program, and he only did 3 sessions with me because I completely helped them totally transform their relationship, even though she wasn't working with me. And she ended up telling him the reason why I did that was because I was so afraid that if you knew that I did need you, that you would leave me. So she would always kind of do that. Yeah. So she was doing it as like a protection mechanism, and it was hurting him as a result, because he's like, I don't know why she keeps doing this to me.
Right. This like, I feel for the men who are in these situations, especially when they're really trying to empathize with their spouse, you know, like, hey, I'm here to stay and I love you and I'm trying to understand you. And the woman's like a porcupine.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're kind of taught that, like, you know, I guess sometimes we're taught that if we're mean to men or we're not interested in them, they need to constantly chase us. So we can't be vulnerable with them. We can't be compassionate with them. We have to be, you know, distant, because if he knows that he catches us, he'll lose interest. And that's a lot of what the Why Men Love Bitches author wrote about, was like, you know, once a man catches you, he loses interest. So then it creates this like thing in our head that like, yeah. And, you know, there's different ways to keep a man interested or what makes him fall in love. And one thing that I think why men may run from strong women is because a lot of these women are very opinionated, very controlling, very much set in her ways. And we're supposed to be flexible. We're flexible. Right. We're like water, right? Like, we give birth, our bodies change. We have a cycle every month. Like, our bodies are even more flexible than men. We're supposed to be flexible, and we're taught now to be like men, to be controlling, to be stiff, to be strong. And they don't want to fight. They don't want a woman that's going to fight with them. And, you know, I've been at dinners with couples before where I mean, women have just said the most horrendous thing about their partner and like totally emasculated him in front of me, and like didn't realize how really bad it was, you know, that and would shout out her opinion and fight with him and debate with him. And they don't want to debate with you. They have enough problems in their day-to-day life. They don't want to come home to that. And going to what men want is, men want to feel like they want to feel trusted. Yeah. They want to feel trusted. They want to feel respected. And they want to feel like they can be themselves. This is very important. Men need to feel like they can 100% be themselves around you, and that you're not going to try to change them, fix them, criticize them. Do not try to fix a man. Don't try to fix his problems. Don't try to save him. Don't criticize him. Oh, if you would have just listened to me, then X, Y, Z would have happened. You allow that man. You trust him and respect him enough that he can handle his problems on his own. That's what's going to make him feel like a man. He doesn't need his mommy to come save him. And a lot of women become that for a man, thinking they're helping them, and then they lose the sexual drive because they feel like it's their mother always telling them what they should be doing, and, you know, trying to fix them and help them and save them and you know, pick up after them or whatever. And then it's just like, you're not you know, you're not elevating this man up to, you know, my partner. I respect him so much. Like I mean, I praise him every day. And yesterday he was like, "Oh, you're buttering me up again." And it's like, I'm not doing it. And butter. But it's authentic. Like, I truly feel that way. You know?
I love it.
And I really respect him and look up to him so much. And I value him. And because of that, he cherishes me. He treats me really well, you know? And I'm so grateful for that. And that
they love that, and they can tell when it's genuine. They can tell when it's authentic, because you're just giddy, innit? You're just giddy like a little puppy. I know that's how I am.
Very much like that. He'll be like, "Why are you laughing?" And I'm like, inside, I'm like, "Oh my God, you're just so cute." You know?
This is what I'm trying to get women to understand, that look, just heal and then learn to be a safe space for yourself. And then all these things that are in you, it's just going to come out. And then you can just be this bubbly, girly, you know, person around your man. And that is the direction I'm trying to get women at, because there's no point being this like mechanical, like, no, I got to sit like this. No, I miss him, but I'm not going to say it because it's going to make me look weak. No, do it.
I say this too, in women in their, in my workshops, like if they're online dating or something, men like happy women. They want a woman that's happy. They don't care where that happiness comes from. If it comes from work, if it comes from your children, whatever it comes from, they want to come home to a happy woman. And I say, put a picture on your dating profile of you smiling, enjoying your life, you know, not these like serious, sexy, like I'm so, you know, strong and confident. They want men like happy women. And the happier you are, the more they're drawn to you, because they want to feel that joy and radiance that you're exuding too, right? Yeah. So
it comes down to a lot of women are not happy, truly happy and at peace within themselves. Therefore, the love, the authenticity or the authentic love can't come out naturally, because they have nothing to tap into. It's just darkness, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we just need to get some therapy, get some coaching, you know, sift through all the stuff, you know, so that we can just be like, "Hey babe, I missed you today." And they're like, "Okay, what got into you?" "Nothing, you know, just missed you." Some women will never do that. They will never do that.
I actually had a client who...
They're calling you, "Where you at?"
Yeah.
What should I come do at home? When I'm at home, you just nag and make noise. So what do you want me to do at home? You can stay with yourself.
I had a client who, she was, you know, so enamored by her boyfriend, but she was so emotionally blocked. And he would say to her, like, "I wish you were more emotional. I wish you were more," he's a ruler archetype and they need an emotional woman. And so she called me to do coaching with me. And I'm like, "Be expressive, write him a love letter." Like, and she's like, "Oh my God, I could never." She's like, "Can I pay you to do it for me?" And I'm like, No, like it has to come from your life, you know? And I've dedicated my life to understanding men and relationships for like almost a decade now, because I really wanted the tools to, I really wanted to build a solid family, a happy family, a family that sustains itself. I didn't want to repeat the same divorce patterns in my life. And I think it's really important to, like you said, do therapy and to, you know, my partner called me one day in January. He's been dealing with some stuff, and I said to him, I was like, are you going to be okay? Because I can't live without you, you know? And I really meant it. Like, I'm like, if we don't work out, like, I don't know what I'm going to do, because to me, he's like my divine counterpart. We both feel mutual, right? And he like piped up and he was like, really? You can't live without? He got such a charge out of that. And I could like totally see his energy shift. You know, men like to feel like they're the man, that you respect them, that they're somebody worthy, just like women. We want the men to do the same thing with us, like for them to praise us and make us, he makes me feel wonderful. He writes me love letters. He's so loving and doting, and he truly sees my soul, and he expresses that. And I'm so grateful. And we both like vibe so well. But you know why we vibe so well is because we've both done the healing work. He's done a lot of healing work. I've done a lot of healing work. And when I really elevated myself and my energy and, you know, healed my traumas and triggers, I ended up matching with a man who was the same. So when people are like, oh, I attracted in the shadow of this man, well, you're in your shadow then, because you attract who you are, right? Yep.
You're in your shadow. That's why you attract. I love that. Because this is it. When we're blaming people, we don't realize that there's something in us that is bringing those parts of them out as well.
For sure.
That's why we're mismatching. So the equation is we need to slash that part out so that we can just go for the ones who have healed as well, right? But the truth of the matter is we say we want people who have healed whilst we haven't healed, not knowing that that's even going to make us feel even less worthy. Because we're going to feel like, they're looking at me again and I feel inadequate. But in actual fact, if we had, not necessarily if we stay in that uncomfortable state, we can just get through it. Because unfortunately, that will kill the man eventually. Their patience will wear thin. So yeah, I mean, I'm just praying that, you know, as we're having these conversations, women will start to think, okay, let me just do a little bit of work. You know, it's not going to kill me. It's actually going to make me better. And then let's see what will happen from there. You know, I just want women to be a little bit more open to do things differently from what they've always done, just so that they can get closer to the things that they say they want. You know, you want to come home to someone who loves you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where we're going. So hopefully, women, you're listening out there. I mean, most of the people who watch my content are men.
I always almost knock over my tripod over here. So you have mostly male followers?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And male watchers as well, viewers. Initially, because I used to do more of like hair content, and I had 99% women on my channel. And then I went into talking about not what men want, but red flags, because this was after my divorce. I was like, whoa, there's something called red flags. And I picked all of them. Let's talk about red flags so I don't pick them again. I still had 99% women. And then the minute I started to listen to more manosphere content, and I was like, oh, okay, so they do like women like me. It's just, I didn't know that this is what men also place value in. I just thought I was weird. I thought I was boring, you know? So I started to say, oh, actually, this is what men say they like. They like soft women. They like submissive women. They like cooperative women. They like bubbly and friendly women. All of a sudden, it went to 30 to 20% women.
Yeah.
70% men. And I can see the men on my page frequently. The women, no, when they come there, it's more like, you're just a pick me. And I'm like, okay, now that we've identified I'm a pick-me, can we talk about the actual point at hand?
I know, I get called a pick-me all the time. I'm just like, oh my God.
That's why you've been picked, you know?
Yeah, you know, I had a guy, or I don't even know if it's a guy or a girl, some rando person, some guy commented saying how my man was really lucky, and they were like, I don't think she's been picked, to be honest. And it's like, why are you so interested in my personal life? Like, who cares? You know, like, go get a life. You know what I mean? But you said something that I really wanted to touch on real quick. I can't remember what it was. Soft. Yes, the key to being a woman is our softness. And we're really, you know, if you watch that Euphoria show, which I've never seen, I don't care about, but it's really popular. It's all over social media and blah, blah. Have you heard of it?
No, I don't think so.
So it's a show that has Zendaya in it, Alexa Demi, and some other people. And it's, it came out, I think, recently. It's, you know, one of these, like, all the craze kind of shows that are in right now. All the young women are watching it. And I watched a little clip of it, of Alexa Demi and an altercation she was having. I guess they're high school students. And she was yelling at a woman for, like, screwing her man or something, but she was like, you know, F you, bitch, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, being really, like, aggressive and cursing, and, like, and this is, you know, masculinity and feminine behavior is an energy that you portray. You know, women who are very masculine, who may dress really feminine, will get really triggered by me. I actually had a client say that she could understand why women would hate my guts for, like, my content. And she ended up signing up for my 3-month program after that. So I don't know, something in what I said, like, you know, I think she kind of understood that even though I was triggering her, she's still open, but she looks very feminine. She dresses very feminine, but her energy that she carries is very masculine. There's a difference. There's a communication style of, you know, a masculine woman or a feminine woman. And you know, everybody loves Alexa Demi. She's, like, I guess, like, the siren of the show, and she's got horrible manners and communication skills, and she's very aggressive. And these are the role models that, you know, I mean, even in college, when I was in college, I went to the Fashion Institute in New York City, and we would sit around in our dorm rooms and watch Sex and the City because we were living in New York. And we would watch the show, and everyone loves Samantha, the boss babe, the woman who sleeps with all the men, who became a man, who would say that she was like a man too. And that's the woman women wanted to be like. They didn't want to be like they didn't want to Charlotte. Yeah, they didn't want to be Charlotte or I mean, maybe Carrie, but, you know, and this is why I go over different archetypes, because I assume you're a girl archetype mixed with either lover or mother. I can't tell, but, you know, some men like the girl lover archetype, some men like the girl mother, some men like the queen. There are men that do like the queen and want that kind of more masculine woman. And they're usually more feminine kind of men. And I have a lot of content on this. So there is a man for every type of woman. You just have to discover, who are you as a woman? Because we're so indoctrinated to become the boss babe. We're so indoctrinated to be a certain kind of woman. And I too, even in my early 20s, thought that, like, you know, I was going to be this boss babe. And I worked, and I was very successful in New York, and it was exhausting. And I was like, this isn't what I thought this was going to be. This is not what I signed up for. You know? So
I love that. So Darren said, never let anyone shame you for being a pygmy, because it is always coming from sad single women who can't seem to figure out why they are sad and single. Yeah, you can say that again, Darren. Welcome here. Thanks for coming, Darren. No, it's so true. They're always trying to find a way to just shame you into things, and most of the time I'm like, okay, I'm a pygmy. Okay, now can we talk about what we really need to be talking about?
Yeah.
Because if you're not a pygmy, a lady put it as a past me. If you're not a pygmy babe, you're a past me babe. So, you know, pick one.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're gonna go into our next one, which is Are Submissive Women Weak? Oh, drum roll.
The trigger. This is a trigger word for a lot of
Pew,
women.
pew, 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 pew. Literally, you hear submission and everyone's like, oh, me submit to a man. Oh, never. You know?
Yeah.
But I think there's so much strength in submission. As Kevin put it, it's willful cooperation. So it's not like you're relinquishing your power. You have the power, but you're willingly choosing to cooperate with this man that you're with. It's not a man who's there to control you or like police you around and you have no say whatsoever. And I think the loudest of the women are the ones who have been hurt by thinking that they were submissive, when in actual fact they probably were codependent.
Mm-hmm. It's all about relinquishing control. Being submissive is relinquishing control over, your own ideas and fully trusting in a man to lead. And the irony is I was talking to another, I guess, dating coach, and he's pretty popular on YouTube, not on YouTube, on TikTok. And he was saying that, he had been approached by a lot of women who were married and wanted to cheat on their husbands. And they were these strong queen archetype women, and they would leave their husbands or cheat because their husbands would become weak. And then they would want to hook up with a man that would just possess them, control them, and dominate them in the bedroom, so they want to be possessed in the bedroom and be submissive in the bedroom. But and they stop respecting their husbands because they have to be the dominant, controlling one. But yet, if you tell them to be submissive to a man, they're like, what? It's like, it's, you may as well just like put them in jail, they don't. And yeah, like you said, you can still be opinionated. My partner, he takes all of my opinions and he asks my thoughts, and we discuss things as a team. And ultimately, for the most part, like, I trust and respect him to make the ultimate decisions. I don't want to make the hard decisions. I don't want to like have to do the hard work. I say, honey, this is what I'd love to do. I trust you to figure it out. And, he leads me to, great things. And, that's kind of how it is. And for me, it works. Like, I like this dynamic. I don't want to have to control and lead the home and do everything. I want to enjoy my life. I want to sit poolside and,
And I think most women think that, again, submissive women are weak in the sense that we have no thought of our own, or we're just like, yeah, babe, yeah. We're yes women. It doesn't mean, just because we're saying no, it doesn't mean we're going to be disagreeable or uncooperative in those moments. It's just a matter of knowing how to communicate in a way that doesn't emasculate our men.
Right?
Are we able to invite them into the conversation in a way that they feel respected and they feel like their direction is going to be respected? Can we do that? If we can't, then I would say then keep quiet.
Yeah, and it's about compromise, right? There's compromise on both ends. I mean, I definitely have disagreed with my partner on some things, and we have a dialogue about it, and he hears my viewpoint. And the best way to communicate with a masculine man is to say, I feel this about that. And instead of like, I think. If you want to be in the masculine role, you'd say, I think. And that comes from Dr. Pat Allen, who did, extensive research on dynamics between masculine and feminine energies. And, the masculine man is supposed to honor and revere the woman's feelings and help her to feel better. So, if I don't feel good about something and I tell my partner I don't feel good about this, he will do what he can to make me feel better about the situation. He won't shut me down and just say, well, deal with it. He'll work with me on it, but he doesn't disrespect me or anything. I don't feel disrespected for being submissive to him. He works to make me happy too. He wants to make me happy as much as himself. So I trust him to lead because I know that ultimately I respect his decisions to care for me, and that he's going to do the best. And and I can sit back and, you know, relax and be in the passenger seat and let him drive, and I can look out the window and enjoy the beautiful nature and not have to worry about things.
Exactly. It's like we want to be in the driver's seat, we want to be in the passenger seat, we want to be everything, you know, whilst at the same time have someone take care of us. I don't know how we think that will work, because I use a lot of I think in my speech, especially online. The only time I ever use I feel in my content is if I genuinely feel it. I'm just use the word feel because I'm quite in tune with my feelings, and most of the time it's coming from the thought process. And I think most of the time, I can't remember where I was. Gosh, I had a mummy moment.
No worries, it's late where you are. We were talking about being in the passenger seat and allowing someone to lead.
Exactly. I think there's just so much power in just saying, hey babe, I'm here, just being present. You can do whatever you need to do, but I'm here if you need me, you know? And I think it takes a lot of confidence. A woman who is in that passenger seat, it takes a lot of strength to be those things, you know, like vulnerability. People see it as weakness, but in actual fact, I think it's a lot of strength in just saying, hey babe, this really upset me, you know, just opening up and saying, this is what upset me, and I really would like you to do X, Y, and Z next time. You know, just being able to articulate those emotions rather than you never do this for me and you never do that for me.
It's an attack.
Yeah.
It becomes an attack to where you're attacking him, his character, his integrity, and he has to defend himself versus, you know, a place of understanding. A man's not going to want to understand you if you're attacking him.
Exactly. And I think it comes back to us not knowing how to regulate our emotions or even name them. Most of us are angry, but we don't even sit in our emotions long enough to actually say, actually, it's not anger, it's sadness, it's loneliness, it's bitterness, it's resentment, it's frustration. You know, we're not sitting down and saying, actually, this is all I'm feeling. We're just dumping it straight on the man and then hoping that it will stick somehow, but at the same time not wanting to submit.
Yeah.
And I know I have to tackle the subject of submission in its entirety. Maybe we might have to do another video and we can go into more depth about that. But we have identified that there is strength in submission. And I'm hoping that someone out there, the women, the 5% or the 2% who are watching, we can learn that.
But also, if you think about it too, if you're religious, I mean, you said you grew up, your father was a pastor, you submit to God. What does that mean? It means trusting that God has it all figured out, that you don't have to stress about it all day, every day, that you can submit to knowing that it's going to be taken care of and everything's going to be okay, that I don't have to control everything with my limited mind and my ego and my suffering, that I can relax. And a relaxed woman is a happy woman and a feminine woman.
They think relaxed means passive, isn't it? And the thing is that there's nothing passive about it at all. It's full of trust, isn't it? It's an active position. You are actively deciding to trust your husband, your God in that circumstance, because you know it's out of your control. And I think it takes a lot of practice, isn't it? Because trust, trust once broken.
Yeah, because if we feel like we're allowing other people to make the choices, or we're allowing God to take care of things or whatever, we're like, oh God, what if it all falls apart? What if I need to do everything? Because if I don't do everything, it's going to fall apart. And then they bring that behavior into a relationship. Well, if I don't do the dishes, if I don't clean, if I don't choose where we're going to live, if I don't blah, 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 it's all going to fall apart. You have to listen to me because I know better than you. I know we should do this. And they do that to a man. And then he's like, he feels emasculated because he's like, she doesn't trust me as a man. She doesn't respect me as a man to be the leader and whatever. So, and then he becomes disinterested in her because men want to be with somebody who is that way with him. So he'll leave her and she'll be like, oh my God, why did he leave me? Because I took care, maybe kind of how, I don't know how you were in your relationship, but you know, I took care of everything, you know, and he left me for a woman that is helpless. You know, you hear this a lot. And there was this one story of a man who was a ruler archetype married to a queen archetype, and they came into therapy, and he couldn't get it up in the bedroom anymore, and he was like, I don't know what's going on. And you know, so anyway, he finally came in by himself, and he's like, listen, you know, my wife is amazing, she can do it all, she can be it all, she knows it all, like she's smarter and better than me, but I met this younger woman who's kind of it has nothing to do with age, I just want to throw that out there, because a lot of people think that, like, you know, but he met this other woman who kind of had daddy issues, didn't have her life together, but she looked up to him like a hero. And he was like, she looks at me like a king, like a hero, and she makes me feel like a man, and my wife doesn't make me feel that way, but this woman does, and like it makes me charged up, and I, you know, and he ended up falling in love with this other woman because she made him feel like a hero, like a man, and his wife didn't. He felt almost like
like that softness, and it always comes back to the softness and the vulnerability and just remaining in that feminine. And it's so hard. Again, it goes back to therapy and healing and uncovering, so we can just be, you know, just learning to say, actually, I am enough, not just throwing affirmations out there. Really, truly believing that even flaws and all, I am enough. And when I'm not feeling like I'm enough, I will voice it in a gentle manner to my husband to say,
being gentle is key.
I'm feeling very inadequate in this moment. And when they try to give you a hug, you go in as well, rather than being this like tough cookie. I love that. So we're nearly there. Why do so many women struggle to use these two organs? Parts of the body. Why do we struggle so much? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We need to be listening more than we speak, but it seems it's the other way round. Why can't we just shush?
That's a great question. I think because we have a lot of noise in our head. We got to get it out there somehow.
We're just dumping, brain dump.
Trauma dump. I actually had a girl who was a pretty popular YouTuber. She reached out to me. I thought she wanted coaching. I don't know what she really wanted, but she just started trauma dumping on me. And she literally sent me like 45 minutes worth of voice notes. Like the first time I ever spoke to her, didn't hire me for coaching or anything, but just totally trauma dumped on me and just kept trauma dumping on me and sharing her whole life. And listen, whatever, but like, I'm not getting paid for my time here. My time is very valuable. I'm a very busy woman. I can't just have you trauma dump all over me every day, you know? And you know, she actually makes money talking and telling stories on YouTube because that's what she's good at. She's good at talking, but she wasn't good at listening, because I would try to share as well with her to kind of like, you know, in the conversation. And I don't even know if she even listened to any of my messages, because she never once would comment on them. And so I think, and I think that can stem from also narcissism too. Like when people show up, it's all about them. They trauma dump on you. It's their life, their story, their thing. And then once you share, they're like, well, I don't really care what you have to say. Like it's about me. You know?
And I think a lot of people are also lonely. You know, they have no one in their lives. And I've noticed that people who live alone for long periods of time, because we're built for companionship, isn't it? We're built to be with people. So
we're tribal beings.
Right. So when we isolate ourselves willingly, I would say, you know, instead of getting into relationships and marriages and going for the things we want, I think we end up talking a lot. You know, we practice that too much. And because, when we're talking, no one's there to fill in the gaps, we end up only learning how to talk and not listen. And even when we are listening, we're just hearing to respond. Because again, we've got so much in our head. There has to come a time where we're like, you know what? I just need to shush. I just need to shush. And
Sorry to cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, go on.
We live in an information world, the age of information, right? And it's like you wake up and you get on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all these Rumble, all these things. And it's like you're bombarded, like you said, with like noise and information. And our head gets so filled up with information. Your brain can only retain a certain amount of information a day before it caps out, you know? And then it's like, I think one way that women release it is by chatting and talking about it. And men release information or stress through working out and physical activity. So I think that
that's what it is.
Just,
we're like, I know something, I must share it. And it's like, we do not care.
The age of information always, I mean, everybody on TikTok now is a psychiatrist or sharing about their life or talking about what they know. And I see couples showing up and now talking about masculine and feminine energies and people that just, you know, people just want to talk about their life and share.
And this is it. Like, there's so much knowledge, as you're saying, but there's very few, like, wisdom. You know, how to use that knowledge that you have acquired, or else you're just regurgitating the information over and over again. And it's like, well, I could have gone to Google and, you know, learned what you've just told me. How do I apply these things, you know? And it's just learning to, once we have learned something, it's not just about sharing it to stroke our own egos. Oh, look at me. It's more about, what do I do with this information? You know? Wisdom comes from a very deep place in your soul. It comes from something higher than the ego. A lot of times we're operating off of information from our limited mind, our limited ego, and we don't even know how to connect to our higher self or to a deep place of wisdom. And, you know, back in the day, I mean, I know in like Native American culture, I'm sure a lot of others, but, you know, we were storytellers. We passed on stories from generation to generation and wisdom. And now, you know, I saw a video about this somewhere, but, you know, people not respecting their elders or not listening to the older people. And, you know, my wisdom comes from years of struggle. Years of struggle, right? Like, you know, I had to fight for my, like, my enlightenment, or, you know, I think a lot of people go through the dark night of the soul, and you know, you have to really, I had a client actually the other day who was a referral, and she just became enlightened, or she just had her spiritual awakening or whatever. And, you know, I've been doing this work for 12 years, you know, and I was trying to help her out, and I guess she got off the phone and told my friend, well, I already know everything that she told me. Like, I already know everything that she said. Like, she literally didn't listen or respect anything I had to say. And you know, we think we know everything, right? And I think, you know, I mean, even as kids, we don't want to listen to our parents. We don't listen to, you know, we know everything. And I think, I don't know if it's a human nature thing or what, but when it's left unchecked, when it's left unchecked, we all have a bit of narcissistic stuff in us, isn't it? Always trying to seek some sort of attention or approval or recognition, acknowledgement. You know, it can show up in very subtle ways, isn't it? So I think that's probably what's happening, but some are louder than others. That is exactly what's happening. So let's get to this one. My fave. Men love a challenge. The guys who are here, we know you love a challenge, but we are about to try to delve into this. Is it a challenge that you like, or you just really, really, really just want a challenging woman? We're just putting that out there, so bring your comments in. But yeah, whilst you're doing that, let's have a chat about this. We know men are go-getters. You know, they like a challenge, they want to pursue. But the truth of the matter is, once they've pursued and they've caught their prey or their target, you can't still keep, you know, wrestling. Sometimes you might need to give in. Well, all the time, because you've been caught, because you wanted to be caught. But why do women still struggle or decide to still be challenging women once they have been caught? thinking that that is what makes them attractive. I think we have touched upon it throughout this live stream actually, but since we are about to end soon, I just thought we would delve into it a little bit deeper, because I know a lot of women keep throwing that around. But men like a challenge. They have it in them. They can deal with all of this. No.
I think we all, to some degree, like a challenge. There's a story that Bonnie and Clyde went to hell, and in hell they were told, you know, you can go to any bank you want to go to and we'll open the vault for you and hand you the money. So they started going to different banks, and they'd show up and they just open the vault and they'd grab the money. They're like, wow, this is really exciting. And then after the third, fourth time, they were like, this isn't really fun. And then they're like, this is actually kind of boring. I don't even have to work for it, you know? So I think there's something to be said when you work really hard for something. It's like, you know, when you work really hard for your body and you work really hard for discipline or for a skill or a talent, the success is so much greater because you really, you know, had to fight for it. It's the hero's journey, you know? So I think, you know, when men meet a woman that is not like, here, I'll give you all of me without you really doing anything. It's like, well, they didn't really have to. It's kind of like people who like grow up with money. Some people who grow up with money and they never value the dollar because they never really had to work for it, right? So
no, I get that. And as Darren has put it so beautifully, play hard to get, not hard to keep. This is it. A lot of women don't know how to be kept, you know, and I preach about it on this channel all the time. In the Bible, it says, he who finds a wife, you know, you have to be a wife in order to be found. That's how you get kept, you know.
Interesting.
But then a lot of people want the marriage, they want the husband whilst not being a wife. So that means you won't be kept. In the long run, something's gonna fall through the cracks because you weren't exhibiting qualities that pertain to being kept in the long run, you know. And I think it's hard to just rest. Sometimes it goes back to this submission, being vulnerable, just trusting, taking the back seat, you know. And I think those are all the qualities that we need to exhibit, or we need to embody actually, so that we can maintain the things that we say we actually want. So you found this amazing man, but you're still fighting with him emotionally and mentally. And then when they up and leave, it's the man's fault. No, it's your fault because he just couldn't keep you, or you did not want to be kept, you know?
He couldn't deal with your baggage and the drama. Men hate drama, you know, they don't want to deal with drama. So that's, definitely one thing. You said something else that I wanted to touch on. It's like kind of, so I tell women to wait 3 months before sleeping with a guy because you want to like see how he is, how he shows up. Who is this man? You know, and employers are the same way. They wait 3 months to give you benefits. And because your resume can be great. The woman's resume and the man's resume can be great. But as you get into a relationship with them, if you're not really suitable for the job, if you don't really have what it takes to keep the job, like they're not gonna keep you. Same for the relationship. Like you can learn all the tricks of the trade and everything on how to attract in a man. That's the easy part, you know. I don't have any problem attracting in men, right? And I'm sure a lot of women don't either, but it's like, how do you sustain what you've attracted? How do you sustain that job? How do you keep building and growing, you know? And a lot of it comes down to confidence in yourself too, that, you know, a lot of women feel,
isn't it?
What?
It's having that confidence that you have substance because you've prepped yourself to embody these qualities, isn't it? You're not just, it's not a facade, you know. So it comes back to embodying the qualities that men place value in, because even if one man leaves you, you still have those qualities to attract and keep and maintain a more successful relationship. That doesn't mean you're constantly dating up. It just means you're picking better. That's what I think.
I think also confidence is great because of social media. There's always, you know, and I see, thankfully my partner doesn't use social media, but I see a lot of women say things like, they compare themselves to other women because their boyfriends follow all these like Instagram models and like their half naked photos and their OnlyFans and their all, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I think it's hard for a lot of women because it's definitely put a different dynamic on relationships from like no other woman being around your relationship to now men can go on our black screen and see all kinds of women. And it's like, and it feels like cheating because you know he's checking out these women and you're watching him like the photos and interact with these women. And I think it's really detrimental for a woman's mental health because it's a constant, like she's constantly having to compare herself, and men don't understand that. They just, they don't get it, you know, and it's really screwed up relationships. And
social media, isn't it? But then it's not going anywhere, is it?
I don't know. You know, sometimes I feel like we're in this weird time where some people are deciding, like me and my partner want to live off grid. We want to grow our own food. Like, you know, I think I'll do social media for a little bit more time, sell my books, my programs, whatever. And then I'm doing a clothing line. So I want to kind of do that and then just get off and not engage because it brings a lot to me. It brings a lot more harm than good sometimes. I'll be on the TikTok For You page and it's every other video is narcissist. Once I married my husband, he became this narcissist, or all this like fear mongering content. And it even makes me paranoid sometimes, you know, and it like, it disturbs my peace of mind. I have to like consciously stay away from my phone and social media. And you know, me and my partner, we agreed that our kids are not getting phones, social media, nothing until they're 18. Like we're homeschooling, like, you know.
Actually, that would be a very good idea. That would be a really good idea because I think social media, everyone and their uncle and auntie and grandma has social media, and everyone is now comfortable sharing their opinion. As you said, trauma dumping. That's the word you use, isn't it? Yeah. Everyone is trauma dumping, but then they're stating it as facts. And then, you know, people are absorbing this content and they're like, and they're running with it. Yeah. And I think the sad thing, bringing it back to dealing with challenging women, the reason why women have become so challenging in a sense is I think all this information that's out there, one, they don't know how to just be themselves. And then you have someone super, super loud on social media telling them what they should be. So they're running with it, okay? And then they're wondering why it's pushing them further and further away from the things that they say they want. So when you have people like us come along and say, no, but you have to be submissive, you have to be gentle, you have to be cooperative. They're like, oh no, that's not what I've been bombarded with for the past 20 years. You go sit there if you want to be a doormat. You know? I will be that.
It's so true. I'll get on social media and I'll see some women and they'll be like, blah, 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 like all in their like, you know, energy. And women are like, yeah, in the comment section. But you know, if you have like somebody who's like more dainty and feminine and soft, it's like, oh, she's going to get cheated on. And she's a doormat and all these things. And, you know, when I went to college, Facebook had just come out. And at the time, you could only get a Facebook if you were in college. You had to have a university email to be able to get, I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 32.
Okay, so we're the same age.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so, you know, and your grandparents weren't on it. Your parents weren't on it. Only college students were on it. And it was a way to network in college to make friends. And then, I mean, Instagram only really started blowing up in like 2014-ish. And I didn't have it then. At the time, my ex, who is really in the tech world, he worked for Google. He would always talk about Instagram, and I had no interest in it. I'm like, what's Instagram? You know, and he's like, oh, you can make money being an influencer. So it's so new, you know, for people. And it's really changed so much how we interact with each other. And yeah.
And this whole topic of what you bring to the table, I think that's what led me to TikTok, because any and everyone is going on about what they don't bring to the table, not even what they don't bring to the table, the fact that they are the table. And I was just thinking to myself, wow. And then it just took me down a whole rabbit hole of loads of women just volunteering to be these challenging women. And I'm just thinking to myself, but how are you going to be getting the things that you say you want? I'm literally reading all these comments. I love reading comments because it helps me get into people's heads, you know, understand the mindset. And there's loads of women who agree. I bring nothing to the table. He needs to bring X, Y, and Z, and this, that, and the other. And I'm just thinking to myself, how far we have fallen.
Yeah.
How
yeah,
far
I have people that come to me and they're like, I want a ruler, I want a provider, I want a man to spoil me. And I ask, well, what do you bring to the table too?
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Well, they don't tell you that they're the table.
I'm inherently valuable because I was born a woman. That's what I hear a lot. You know, I'm a woman. I deserve it because I'm a woman.
Yeah, when you bring life into the world, you also still have a responsibility, and it's best to bring a life into the world with a husband.
Yeah. I don't understand this either. I don't understand this culture of people celebrating or normalizing having children out of wedlock with different dad. I mean, there's this video talking about like family drama and stuff. There's a video that showed up on my For You page where this guy was like, you know, he had this post about how he was sad, his heart was breaking over an ex, and this woman did a duet or did a response to him, and she was like, well, you didn't tell the world that you have 3 different kids with 3 different women, and one of them's my cousin, and that you didn't show up for the baby shower. And that bubble like totally threw this man under the bus, and it was like going viral on. Can you imagine how humiliating? And you're just throwing all of your family drama and like stuff on the internet. And but then I thought about it, like 3 kids with 3 different women. Why are these women even doing that with this guy? Why do women feel it's safer or less responsibility to have a child with a man than actually marry the man? Right. And it just doesn't make any sense. And so now we have a lot of single women who live off the government, live off the system, raise their kids in a fatherless home. So then the women have to work to take care. And then the kids, you know, a lot of things happen to kids in these vulnerable positions when they don't have a nuclear family or a support system, right? They get into drugs, they get preyed upon by, you know, I did a video that, you know, I grew up, my father was in the Air Force, and we lived in the military on base for a while, but then people kind of move off base and they move into these neighborhoods where a lot of other military families are. Well, you know, the men are gone a lot of the time, and predators know this. So what do? They drive around the neighborhood. And I had a guy that drove up to me when I was outside playing and was like trying to get me to get into his car. He knew that this is a military area. Men are probably not there. And it was true. My dad wasn't there, you know, and I ran inside, and I mean, it was terrifying, but like, you're vulnerable when you don't have that man protecting your family, protecting your children. It makes the woman vulnerable to also predators, dating predators of her children. It makes the children vulnerable, and it keeps them dependent on the government for support. And it creates this pattern, right? So we really should start normalizing again, because we've really gone so far away from the traditional family unit. It's like, you know, and it's, we have to start kind of normalizing that again.
Oh, Jared. Hi, Jared. He's actually the one who got me to have this collaboration.
Oh, awesome.
Jared always connecting me with amazing people. Honestly, thank you so much, because this has been amazing.
Yes.
Going back to what you were saying, the family unit, again, I think it's just this thing where there's an agenda and it's just the loudest, you know? And as much as it's going to hurt us, it's going to benefit someone else. And it's, most of the time it's not us, but we're just eating it so much, you know? And I don't know, I have that passion to help women, to push them towards, you know, family unit and all of that. But at the same time, I'm not going to break my back because I know the work that it goes into maintaining those things. And I think there comes a point where it does break my heart. You know, it does break my heart because I can't save everyone.
Yeah.
I want to save everyone. I can't save everyone because some people just don't want to be saved, you know. Some people don't even know they need saving. And I don't know, I'm sure you've come across a lot of people when you're trying to help someone, you're trying to coach someone. There comes a point where you're like, yeah, actually, this person's probably not going to be able to, they don't have the capacity.
I've had that not so often. I have had it. I had a couple of narcissistic women, clients who were like this, very, very, very difficult. But I do have someone in my close environment who suffers tremendously, and I've tried to save them. And then I realized they're not even doing anything to save themselves. I can't help them, and I can't make that my life mission to save them, because people aren't going to change or get help until they decide to. And it's a waste of your time and effort, and time is money. Time is the most precious thing we have. So I'm not going to freely give away my time to somebody that doesn't value it or is not going to receive it.
Yeah. And I know that the most heartbreaking thing is when you see someone's potential and you see how much they're wasting that potential.
Yeah.
And then you also have to extend a bit of grace and just say, you know what? Some people just want this kind of life. And that's the hard truth that I've had to learn along this journey. Like when I'm helping women out, I need to just meet them where they are at, not where I want them to be or where I think they can be based off of where they want to be. No,
right.
I just need to meet them where they're at. And then most of the time it's just saying, okay, yeah, if that works for you, yeah, that's all right. But yeah, we're just gonna keep doing. Oh, Alexi. Sorry guys, hold on. How are you guys enjoying it so far? Thank you all for coming. I think Alexi's having a little bit of trouble with her system. I'm gonna just give a couple of shout outs to everyone who came today. Reggie, welcome. Darren. Hi, Jared. Daniel, hey. And Chantel. I'm sure there are many others, but they didn't want to show themselves. But this has been amazing. I think Alexi's having trouble, so we're going to just wrap up today's live stream. It's been amazing. Thank you all for coming, and there will be more. There will be more. So please stay tuned. And yeah, until next time, take care and God bless. Bye.